Hey everybody, David McElfresh here. So excited that today I am talking about how to utilize the equity in your home. And there's a couple different tools that you can utilize to do that. We're going to talk about both. And one is a home equity line of credit, and the other is a simple refinance of your home and that kind of thing. So I think taking a step back and asking why would you want to utilize either one of these tools when people get to a certain point where they've owned a property for a long period of time and they've got a lot of equity sitting in their home, they start to ask me the question a lot, hey, David, what do we do with this equity? So, for example, we've got our house and it's worth $500,000 now, and our loan's only $200,000. So we literally have $300,000 of equity, and it's just sitting there doing nothing. What do we do? How can we utilize this? Love these questions. I love that mindset of trying to utilize your money and getting it to work for you. And so there's a couple tools and that kind of stuff that we can utilize and make things work. But I like these two tools because number one is they're tax free. If you think about it, if you have, let's say, a 401k, for example, and you're investing in your 401k and it's growing and it's growing, and now your 401k is at the size of $300,000. As soon as you start taking money out of that 401k, that money is taxed. And so that's something that obviously is not great, and we don't want to have that type of situation and those extra taxes. And so the pretty cool thing about this is that these funds are not taxed. If you were to turn around and sell an investment property, the proceeds on that would be taxed. Even if you sell your own personal residence, there's a tax that comes in after you sell your home for a larger amount of proceeds and that kind of stuff. And there's some things in there that are a little bit nuances we don't have to talk about. But the cool thing about these two tools is that you're taking money out of your home and none of it is taxed. So I love that concept. And then there's the idea for a lot of people where they're playing what I like to call the rate game. So, for example, if you've got an interest rate on your home of 3 or 4%, then it's really just the concept of, okay, can I find something else, another investment where the rate of return is higher than the interest rate I'm paying here? So if I can find something that's paying me 6 or 7 or 10% per year, and I've got some other videos or ideas that talk about that, then it absolutely makes sense to pay 3 or 4% over here if you can make 8 or 9 or 10% over here. It's kind of a no-brainer. So anyways, those are the concepts, and that's how we get into these conversations. Let's talk about the two tools and what they mean and that kind of stuff. So we've got the home equity line of credit and the refinance. Home equity line of credit, this is simply keeping your current loan on the property. You're not changing your current loan at all, but now you're going to a bank. Often it's a credit union or somebody like that, and you're saying, okay, I would like to utilize the equity in my home up to a certain point. And they're going to tell you what they're comfortable doing. Sometimes it's 80% of your home's value. Sometimes it's 90% of your home's value, that kind of stuff. But they're going to allow you to do that and utilize the equity that way. The other is a refinance. And that's literally coming in and it basically replaces the current loan that you're working with. You get more than likely a new interest rate. And then you also get potentially a new loan term as well with the refinance. So that's one thing that I always want to let people know about, is that if you're doing the refinance, often lenders will say, hey, we can reduce your mortgage payment. Let's spread this back out over 30 years. I personally suggest people don't do that if you can avoid it, because the first 5 to 7 years of your loan, if it's over 30 years, there's a ton of interest in those first 5 to 7 years. So if you let's say you refinance at 5 years and it goes back out to 30 years again, you're paying a ton of interest again. So I would say, let's keep it at 25 years and just refinance it and include now some of the extra equity that you can pull out and that kind of stuff. So totally separate conversation. We can talk about that a little bit more nuanced, but those are the two different concepts: home equity line of credit, refinance. So let's talk about the kind of the pluses and the minuses of both of these. Home equity line of credit. One thing that I love is that the closing costs on this are actually quite low. So you can come in and for a few $100 get a home equity line of credit and have access to the funds in your home that you're not utilizing right now. So I love that concept. I also like that you only pay for what you use. So think of the home equity line of credit as kind of like a credit card, for lack of a better term. Uh, there's this amount of money that's sitting there, and it says, hey, you can utilize this at any time, but you only pay for what you utilize. So if you have $50,000 available to you, but you only pull out $1,000 or $2,000, you only pay interest on that $1,000 or $2,000. And then the cool thing is that you can pay that back at whatever rate. You can pay that back very, very quickly, or you can pay that back at the prescribed rate that the bank gives you. So that's pretty cool. And I like that concept of only paying for what you use. And then it's really great for small projects. I like this for a few months or even a few years of, hey, I'm going to do this project. I've got a defined term. I'm going to use the money. I'm going to get in, and then I'm going to try to quickly pay it off and get out and that kind of stuff. So the other interesting thing about this is that often there are some credit unions that will allow you to go even higher with that loan to value ratio. So you could even go up to 90% loan to value. So pretty cool things there. With the refinance. So this is a really, really great tool. And some of the positives with this is that the interest rate is often lower with the refinance than it is with the home equity line of credit. So for longer term projects, locking in a low interest rate and then pulling this out and then utilizing the funds for a long period of time, it's a really, really smart tool. I think the perfect example is, let's say you've got a home that you've been owning for 5-7 years, you've accumulated a ton of equity, and now you're thinking, you know what, I think I want to go buy an investment property, right? That's a long-term plan. That's a long-term approach. You pull out some of the equity, use that equity for the down payment for your new investment property. And now that rate in that term is locked in and that kind of stuff. And you've got a lower interest rate on those extra funds. So really, really interesting concept there. Again, obviously your interest rate will be changing. And so you obviously want to time that with when interest rates aren't super, super high, but they're more appetizing and that kind of stuff. So let's just do a quick example of how these two concepts would look in real life and put some numbers to them. So looking at the home equity line of credit, we're going to assume that we can take 90% out. And then for the refinance, we're going to assume that we can take 80% of our loan to value out. So looking at this, let's just assume we've got a home, it's worth $500,000, and we have $350,000 remaining on our loan. So right now there's $150,000 just sitting there that we could be using, right? No bank is going to let you take the entire $150,000 out. They're going to say, no, we want a little bit left in there. But that's where these numbers come in, the 80% or the 90% that they're going to come up with. So the refinance option, they'll come in and they'll say, yeah, at 80% loan to value, we're going to give you an extra $50,000. And so that would give you $50,000 to invest in the stock market, to go purchase a new home, other projects, remodel your kitchen. There's a lot of things that you could utilize those funds for. So just taking that loan value and adding $50,000, they're going to say, we're allowing you to get up to 80%, which in this situation would be $400,000 of the value of the home. And that's how they would come up with this $50,000 that they would give you. So pretty interesting. With a HELOC, they would allow you to go up to 90% loan to value, or in this situation, that would be $450,000 of the value of the home here. So that would be an additional $100,000. So you've got 350 plus the 100 would get you to that 90%. And so now you've got, again, that $100,000 credit card, as I called it. And you could use $2,000, you could use $25,000, you could use the full $100,000 amount. And the interesting thing about that is that you can use it, you can repay it back, and then you can use it again and you can repay it back. And you can do that in and out, kind of like a credit card over several years and that kind of thing. So pretty cool and interesting option there. And definitely a tool that I really, really like for certain instances and certain projects. So two really, really interesting tools, two things that are very, very different. Feel free to give me a call. Let me know if you have some questions. We can do a deep dive on which one of these might be the best for you. And we'll chat soon. All right, cheers.